Good morning, one and all. In continuation with the yesterday's topic, we are going to start the next sort of questions. So, the type of muscles present in our upper arm are smooth muscles. Arm means skeletal muscles. So, first option is the wrong option. Heart are involuntary and unstriated muscles. They are striated muscles. So, second option is also wrong. Intestine are striated and involuntary. Intestine are smooth muscles and they are involuntary. So here third option is also wrong. Thigh are striated and voluntary. So this can be the right answer for this question. Coming on to the next next question 221 question. Three of the first and coming next calvicles and glenoid cavity. Calvicles and glenoid cavity. Clavicle also called as triangular bone. This is present in the pectoral girdle, not pelvic girdle. Glenoidal cavity is also a part, so this may be wrong. And ulna or appendicular skeleton. So obviously, third option is only the right option, C option, that is non-matching pair. Non-matching pair is they are to the pectoral girdle, not pelvic girdle. Next question. Next question. Here, joint between carpals is, already we have discussed that hinge joint means knee portion, hike. So hinge means you need to remember that hike. Hinge means you need to remember that hike. Hike. That is hinge joint, knee and elbow. This is concerned to the hinge joint. Saddle joint between the carpals of the hand. Ball and socket joint. Ball and socket joint is present in the shoulder. Ball and socket joint, shoulder or upper limb. Gliding joint is saddle joint is between metacarpals and carpals, and gliding joint is present between the only carpals. So answer is gliding. filament in muscles is polymerized protein of actins, keratin, actin filament or actin protein. So here the answer for this question will be meromyosins. Next, decreased level of estrogen is a common cause for gout, accumulation of uric acid, tetany, rapid spasms in the muscles, arthritis, muscle bone pains, osteoporosis, softening of bones because of estrogen level, myasthenia gravis. Uh, the muscles are unable to attach to the bones. So here decreased level of estrogen. The answer for the decreased level of estrogen is the answer for this is osteoporosis only, osteoporosis. Next, in a muscle, the functional unit of contraction is the muscle in a muscle. The functional unit of contraction is the I band, A band, H zone, I band with the Z line portion of myofibril between two successive Z lines. So here answer can be in a muscle the functional unit of contraction is I band, A band, H zone, I zone with Z line. Here portion of myofibril between two successive Z lines, that is the functional sarcomere. Here these are the part of the functional sarcomere, but this portion of myofibril between the two successive Z lines, two successive Z lines to successive Z lines is the answer for the functional unit, that is defining the sarcomere. Next, next the characteristics of and an example of synovial joint in humans is fluid filled between two joints provides cushion, skull bones. Fluid filled synovial cavity between two bones, joints between atlas and axis. Limb filled between two bones, limited movement. Fluid cartilage between two bones, limited movements. So examples they have given for skull bones. Fluid filled between two joints provides cushion. So skull bones. Here this might not be in the human beings. This is not as per the human beings. Fluid filled synovial cavity between two bones. So joint between atlas and axis, which is generally already we have discussed that is the answer. Limb filled between two bones, limited movement, gliding joint between carpels. So others are all wrong. Only the fluid filled between the synovial joint between the atlas and axis is the right answer, and this is a NEET 2013 question also. NEET 2013 question also. Next is NEET 2013 question, the same year. 237 question. 237 question. The vertebral column has 10 thoracic vertebrae. The joint between adjacent vertebrae is a fibrous joint. Accumulation of uric acid crystals in the joints causes their inflammation. A decreased level of progesterone causes osteoporosis. So when you try to a vertebral column has 10 thoracic vertebra, it is 10 or 12, it is 12. So option here is wrong. The joint between adjacent vertebra is a fibrous. The joint between adjacent vertebra is a fibrous joint. It is a made up of flexible joints. So this option is also wrong. Accumulation of uric acid crystals in the joints causes their inflammation, that is called gout. So this is the might be the answer. A decreased level of estrogen, already we have discussed, so this is also wrong. So option C is the right answer, that is gout. Next, the H zone on a skeletal muscle fiber is due to the central gap between myosin filaments in the A band, central gap between actin filaments extending to the myosin filaments in the A band, extension of myosin filaments in the central portion of the A band, the absence of myofibrils in the central portion of the A band. So H zone they are asking about. So H zone is a line, is a gap present between the A zone where the actin filaments does not collide in the resting position. So here central gap between actin filaments is next. Select the correct in human skeletal system. Gliding joint between carpals, cartilaginous joint, frontal and parietal, pivotal joints between third and fourth cervical vertebra, hinge joint between humerus and pectoral girdle. So here when you check that cartilaginous joints are present in the sternum and different portions, pivotal joint in the brain, hinge joint in the knee and elbow. Gliding joint is gliding joint or sliding joint is between the carpals. This is the right answer. A option is the right option. Next, stimulation of muscle fiber by the motor neuron occurs at options: the sarcoplasmic reticulum, the neuromuscular junction, the transverse tubules, the myofibrils. So here the activation of the myofibril takes place at the nerve impulse takes place at neuromuscular junction plate or neuron plate, whatever the answer may be. It is a neuromuscular junction or the neuromuscular plate where the information will be transferred from the muscle to the neuron. So answer B is the option for this question. Next, so here there are certain labelings given. Label the parts marked in the human skull and select the correct option. So here you can see that the labelings: temporal bone. So when you see onto this option, you can see that the labeling is given. The correct labeling, you know that near to the eye sphenoid bone is present, and backside D may be parietal bone. D may be parietal bone. Check for the option. F may be the temporal bone because here in this portion, and B can be the occipital condyle near to the atlas. Occipital condyle. So here from the given options, if you try go on options, temporal bone, parietal bone, sphenoid bone, frontal bone, zygomatic bone, occipital bone, frontal bone, zygomatic bone, occipital bone, sphenoid bone, parietal bone. So for this type of questions you need to have a concentration on the textbook. So most of the options will be given from the textbook only. So here the answer is from the A can be the sphenoid bone, F can be the temporal bone, E can be the frontal bone, and D can be the parietal bone. So based on this we can go with the option C as a answer for this question. C is the answer for this question. C is the answer for this question. Next, the globular head of myosin contains. So this is a Karnataka CET question. The globular head of myosin contains ATP, means ATP binding site will be there. So that ATP, propionine, ATPase enzyme, calcium ions in large quantities. It can be the head contains the ATP enzyme by, so that enzyme will convert the ATP into ADP plus PI. So here ATP is enzyme is present on the globular head of the myosin molecule. Next, coming on to the next one, knee joint is an example of, always we are discussing that, remember the code HIKE, HIKE. So with this you can answer the two questions. The two questions are, hinge joint is are present in the knee and elbow. So here knee joint is an example of hinge joint. So directly go with the answer. Next, the central hollow portion of vertebra is called as neural canal, central canal, auditory canal, and vertebro-arterial canal. The central hollow portion of the vertebra is called, obviously nervous system runs through this, so here it is called as neural canal. Next, identify vertebrochondrial ribs from the following. Vertebrochondrial ribs means false ribs. Which are false ribs here? Three pairs. That is 8th, 9th and 10th. So that will be attached to where? 7th. And all the remaining 7 bones are attached to where? It will be attached to the sternum. So as these false ribs are not directly connected to the seventh rib, cage, so it is also called as vertebrochondrial rib, and it is 8th, 9th, 9th and 10th are called as vertebrochondrial ribs. Option is D. Answer is also D. Next, sliding filament theory can be best explained as, when myofilaments slide past each other, actin filaments shorten while myosin filament do not shorten. Actin and myosin filaments shorten and slide past each other. Actin and myosin filaments do not shorten but they rather slide each over other. And when myofilaments pass through each other, myosin filaments shorten while actin. Already in the sliding filament theory, we have discussed that actin filaments slide one over each other. Actin and myosin filaments do not shorten but rather slide over. So that is the name itself says that it is a sliding filament theory. So answer is C option, filaments and myosin filaments slide over each other, and there will be no length, only decrease of length in the I band but not A band. Next, glenoid cavity articulates. Glenoid cavity is a part of a shoulder. So it is located in the, that is clavicle and acromion, scapula and acromion, clavicle with and scapula, humerus and scapula. Glenoid cavity means the upper vertebral column. So humerus is a part of shoulder. So glenoidal cavity is humerus and scapula. Next, the flight muscles. The flight muscles in eagle as more of aerobic muscles. These muscles are also called as red fiber because they are rich in, obviously, rich in mitochondria and rich in myoglobin to make it flight easable. So here they are having the myoglobin contents in the myoglobin contains B option. Next, so 255 figure, you are seeing that is a meromyosin component. This meromyosin is having two heads. The two heads are having two spots. One is called ATP binding site. Uh, one is called as actin binding site, and the two they are showing are the heads of the meromyosin, and B is showing it is the short arm formation. So here label the correct part of a myosin monomer. Monomer means single unit. So here when you see that actin by A is actin binding site, head, C is ATP binding site, cross arm. A is cross arm, B is actin binding site, C is head ATP binding site. C is ATP binding site, actin binding site, head, cross arm. Next, D is head. So already we have discussed that A is head. So A is not, B is cross arm. So nowhere B is cross arm. So C can be active binding site and ATP binding site. So here D option is the right option here. D option. Hibernating animals means sleeping animals, that is like frogs, have tissues containing mitochondria with a membrane protein that accelerates electron transport while blocking the synthesis of ATP. What is the sequence of this? Hibernating animals synthesize fat instead, wasting energy of respiration. Energy is saved because glycolysis and the citric acid cycle shut down. Pyruvate is converted to lactic acid by anaerobic fermentation. Energy of respiration is converted into heat. Energy of respiration is converted into heat. So hibernating animals have tissues containing mitochondria with a membrane protein that accelerates electron transport while blocking the synthesis of ATP. It is the sequence of this. Every time the hibernating animals produce certain amount of heat and slow down the metabolic process, and they survive in the extreme conditions. So D option. Next, deposition of dash in the joints causes gout. Already you know that it is the acid. Next, which of the following joints would allow no movement? Obviously already we have been discussing that fibrous joint does not allow any movement. Next, which of the following is not a function of skeletal system? locomotion, storage of minerals, production of body heat, production of erythrocytes. So, not a function of skeletal system. Body production of body heat is done by the muscular. So here it is not the function of the skeletal system. The monomeric actin is called as globular protein or G protein. G protein. So C option. Next, lack of relaxation between successive in successive stimuli in sustained muscle contraction is known as lack of relaxation between successive stimuli in sustained muscle contraction. Already you know that fatigue means a temporary, spasm means a mean spasm is a condition where muscles will dislocate for a period of time, but lack of relaxation between successive stimuli in muscle contraction is called as tetanus. So with this we have almost completed all sort of questions for the locomotion and movement. So tomorrow we'll start with the, not tomorrow, we'll start on Saturday with the next question, next sort of digestion and absorption topic. Thank you for the day.